Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cricket Unplugged with your host Anis. The color of my jacket decides the player which I'm going to interview. I need to say that this is one cricketer who is known one of the best all-rounders in the world. He's played all forms of cricket, whether it is the Test cricket, ODI or T20. He was the only Australian, the first Australian rather, to score 100 in all formats. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands up for the one and only one, Shane Watson.
Thanks, Anis. What an introduction. Thank you.
I hope I sounded good, and probably sometimes I get goosebumps when I talk to players like you.
Oh, you're very kind. You're very sweet, Anis. Thank you.
The first thing, what has been there, I want to ask you. Everybody says Test cricket is the highest form of cricket. How was your journey for Test cricket for Australia?
Yes, Test cricket was always, as a kid growing up, it was the ultimate. It was the ultimate thing that I wanted to get the baggy green. I wanted to wear the baggy green cap, and Test cricket for me was always the ultimate growing up. And because it is the true test of everything that you are made of, from physical, technical, mental, your resilience. It questions every single part of your being. And I suppose when I look back at my Test career now, I feel like from a batting perspective in particular, I wasn't able to find the right tempo, the right sort of mindset to be able to bat for long periods of time. I developed my technique to be a really good test batsman, but I just didn't have the ability to be able to, I suppose, switch on, switch off, and concentrate for longer periods of time, like all the great test batsmen has been able to do. And then from a bowling point of view, as an all-rounder point of view, is mainly I suppose I did everything I could to be able to bowl as many overs as I could and be as effective as I possibly could.
Very well said, Shane. But mind you, you've played 59 Test matches. There are a lot of cricketers who have not played even 10 Test matches. And out of that 59 Test matches, you have had 200s against your favorite Poms in the Ashes, one at the Oval and one in Australia. So what is it about Ashes which makes it so a very healthy rivalry, but everybody wants to win the Ashes?
Being Australian and growing up was I suppose the old enemy in a way. Was the English, and just I suppose how Australia came about since when the English came and sort of took over the land with the convicts that they sort of sent out to Australia. We got very lucky with what the English sort of picked for us. It's a beautiful land. It's very diverse, and obviously cricket's such a huge part of our Australian psyche. So that rivalry is sort of like in the English being the big brother has always been there. And that's like growing up, it was always the ultimate because you saw how much it meant to the Aussies to be able to beat the English.
Well, everybody says that whether it's an Englishman, whether it's an Aussie, to win an Ashes is probably bigger than the World Cup, if I'm not wrong.
It's very close. Yeah, there's no doubt. Like they're obviously winning a World Cup. It only comes around every 4 years, and it hasn't happened that often.
We've spoken about Test matches. I want to talk about your one-day internationals. You played 190 ODIs, scored almost 6,000 runs, an average of 40, which is quite healthy, with a strike rate of 90. What was that made Shane Watson a special player in white ball cricket?
My game evolved a lot from the first time that I made my debut in 2002 for Australia. I was more of a 4-day sort of lower risk sort of batsman. And in the end, because the opportunities I was getting in one-day cricket at that time was batting at 7 and 8. So I really had to develop my power hitting game, which I did not have at all at that time. I definitely could not go out and hit boundaries at will like I was able to develop into. And I suppose since from 2002 all the way really to 2007, I worked incredibly hard on being able to develop my power hitting, my ability to be able to sort of hit the ball in all different areas over the fence. And then at that time, 2006 was the first time I got an opportunity to be able to open the batting in one-day cricket when Matt Hayden got dropped for a couple of series. And that was really the time when my batting in particular in one-day cricket really took off, because I was facing the best fast bowlers in the world in games. Then in the nets, I'm facing the best fast bowlers in the world as well, with Brett Lee and Glenn McGrath, Stuart Clark, Nathan Bracken, just to name a few. So I suppose just my evolution, and then T20 cricket came in. So it just meant that my game evolved to a point where if the wicket was good, and opening the batting in one-day cricket it's the best place to bat.
Well, Australia has dominated the 50-over World Cup. They won 5 times. And if I'm not wrong, you were a part of the squad in 2007 when you all beat Sri Lanka in the finals, as well as the 2015 when you all beat New Zealand at Melbourne. So how special was that, Shane?
Crazily special. In like 2003 World Cup, when I was just starting out, I got stress fractures in my back in the lead up to that World Cup. So I missed out on the 2003 World Cup. 5 years really to that 2007 World Cup. And that was the dream that I was chasing, to be a part of a World Cup winning team. And then halfway through it, I got a calf injury, which put me out for a couple of weeks. So luckily at that time, the World Cups were really spread out. They were over like 6 weeks. So it gave me enough time to be able to recover. The caliber of players that we did, it just under pressure, Matt Hayden, Adam Gilchrist, Ricky Ponting, Michael Clark, Andrew Simons, Mike Hussey. And then from a bowling perspective, having Glenn McGrath, Nathan Bracken, you had Sean Tate, who dominated in that World Cup as well. It's pretty crazy to think that team I was a part of. And knowing how hard it is to be able to win a World Cup, to be able to go through undefeated in 2000 was very special. And then the dream was always being able to get to the 2015 World Cup at home. That was always the sort of carrot that was dangling there, and always thinking from the age of, I was going to be 34 at that time when the World Cup was at home. Could I get there? Would my body hold up? Would my skill hold up to be able to still be a part of it? But to be able to win a World Cup at home, like India did, who were the first ones to win a World Cup at home in 2011, to be able to win a World Cup at home is just crazily special. That experience at the MCG after we beat New Zealand, going around the ground, is just something that you wish you could pause and sort of be in for a long period of time, because it's one of the most special.
I can vouch for that. I was there at the finals. I was unfortunately also, I am using the word unfortunately because you all thrashed India in the semi-finals at Sydney. Yeah. And the finals also was a walk in the park. So winning World Cups for Australia was always a walk in the park, unless something happens that did happen in the 2019 World Cup. Now, let me come to T20. We've seen Shane Watson as a test player. We've seen Shane Watson as a terrific all-rounder in ODI. T20 was something which you can say that Shane Watson is the man who probably took it by the scruff of the neck. What was that thing that struck with Shane Watson in the T20?
Yeah, T20 cricket came along at the time. It really was a perfect storm in a way, because of the opportunities that I got in one-day cricket for Australia, which was batting at number 7 or 8. I had to develop my power hitting. I had to develop that skill. So it just meant that as I developed it and had become very comfortable at that skill, then, which was really around that 2007 World Cup, then 2008 is when T20 cricket really started to take off with the first IPL, 2007, end of 2007 with the first T20 World Cup. And it really was just a perfect storm for me, with my skill development, how it evolved to what it did. My bowling development, the way it was as well, because the overs that I was bowling in one-day cricket at that time for Australia, it was just, everything sort of just came together perfectly. It's just something that, again, I just feel so fortunate that I came along at a time in the world of cricket, play the leagues that I did, to play the IPL and play at some incredible franchises like I did with Rajasthan for 7 years, and then RCB for 2 years, and then CSK for 3 to finish off with, was, as a starting point, was an incredible opportunity just to play with some of the best cricketers that I've ever played. And then all these other T20 tournaments around the world, whether that was a Big Bash, which was the full season I played with the Sydney Thunder, was Jacques Cullis's last year that he played at the Sydney Thunder, which Jacques Cullis for me is like a god, like the god of all rounders. what he was able to do throughout his career is superhuman. So to be able to play with him was very special. Then to be able to go and play in the Pakistan Super League and have Viv Richards as our team mentor was just like, Viv Richards, the master blaster. To be able to have him as a mentor in the team that I was playing in, and just, all these other leagues, the Caribbean Premier League, and the T10 as well. Just all these different opportunities to be able to play in these different franchise tournaments.
You said rightly the perfect storm. And in the first IPL, you created storm. We all know you like playing for CSK, but you also have a habit of scoring against CSK. In fact, in one of the games in the first IPL, you scored 100 against CSK of just 60 balls. Is it true? If I'm not wrong, your maiden IPL century came against CSK.
It was, yeah. That was in I think it was in year 3.
2013.
I think it was in year 3, yeah. But I suppose the times when I did perform well, even in the first year and the next couple of years before, like in the lead up to me getting that 100 as well, I don't know. I suppose maybe it was just the bowling lineup that CSK had just matched up really well to me.
The first IPL, which was played in India, Shane Watson obviously said it. He played for Rajasthan, and they were the winners at that time. And Shane Watson played many important innings, not to forget the final innings or every innings which he played in that. He made a big impact both with the bat and ball. But now let me come to your favorite franchise, the color of my jacket. Yellow. What made that special with CSK before I come to that 2018 innings?
The thing that really stands out to me about CSK, even from afar, was just how everyone who played the franchise just absolutely loved it. They loved how much care was given to the players. I know Matt Hayden and Mike Hussey in particular used to talk about just how well they were looked after and how much care that the whole franchise from Mr. Srinivasan all the way down was just, everyone was just so like well cared for. And obviously they had a lot of success as well, which was also a part of it. But I suppose for me, the two people that I really was looking forward to working with the most, one was Stephen Fleming, because he was an incredible cricketer, he was an incredible leader for New Zealand, but just the manner, and I didn't really know him that well before I played for CSK, but just the manner and the way he went about things was incredibly impressive. So I was looking forward to being able to play under him. But the second one for me was MS Dhoni, because I only ever played against MS Dhoni, whether that was for Australia against India or against CSK. And I always like MS. He loved the way I bowled. I used to get into his swing arc, his batting arc quite regularly, and especially in one day cricket. Gosh, he took me apart a lot. So, but he had an incredible aura around him. He hardly ever said a word, even after the game. Like you'd play a game and it would be a close game, whatever. He'd never really show much emotion, just say good game, and that was really about it. So I was really excited to be able to play under him and see how he operated, what kind of leader he was, what kind of person he was. So that's, for me, was, unbelievably special to be a part of. And that's why it's so, yes, those other Rajasthan Royals and RCB were incredible franchises to play with. But at the time in my career, I was really, for CSK to give me another opportunity to be able to play because they thought I still had some really good cricket still in me, I feel incredibly fortunate. Otherwise, I most probably would have retired after 2017, especially from the IPL after getting dropped and not playing well for RCB in that 2017 IPL. So CSK gave me the opportunity, gave me the opportunity to open the batting as well. And it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Well, we all had fun watching that final in 2018 when everybody said this team is the Dad's Army, and the Dad's Army went down to surprise everybody. And the innings at Wankhede, which you played against the Saras, talk us about it.
Yeah, that was an innings that, I'd always dreamed about, like it. And I suppose I had an extra bit of fire in my belly as well, because the previous IPL final that I played, which was for RCB in 2016, I had probably one of the worst games I've ever had. Bowling, I went for over 50 in my 4 overs, and then I got out at a really bad time against the Fizz, trying to take on one of his great slower balls. And I felt like alone because of my role that I had within RCB, that I just about single-handedly lost the game for RCB, and I felt ridiculously bad. So for that IPL final in 2018, I felt like I had a point to prove to myself that in big games I could still do it. I could step up, and that again, it was a perfect storm in a way that the way the Sunrisers bowlers are. Yes, if I got through those first few overs with Bhuvanesh Kumar bowling those swinging both ways, super accurate balls. If I was able to get through that, then their bowling attack, I felt there's a couple of bowls in particular that I could line up. And Wankhede Stadium, I hadn't really scored too many runs there in the past, but that was just, once you get in there, then the ball just flies. There's smaller boundaries and the ball just flies. And that was the most enjoyable part, was repaying the faith that CSK showed in me, to be able to play that innings in the final, just to say, more so to say thank you for CSK for giving me the opportunity to pick me up again in that last auction, was something very special to really show to them how much it meant to me that they did back me for that one last time. So
I can tell that with conviction, because I was there luckily at the Wankhede Stadium, and you all were chasing around 180 plus, and Shane Watson 7 balls or 8 balls or 9 balls, no runs. And we were all thinking, what's going on? And then the bubble burst, and Shane Watson went berserk, and it was all in the stands, as they say. Fabulous innings. But my son definitely wants to ask this question. He says that 124 not out against India, where you plunged in 6 sixes and 10 boundaries. Tell us about that innings which you played against India in the T20.
Yeah, that for me was really. It was a time where in the lead up to that, I'd been struggling, especially like mentally. That was the summer where, in the lead up to that, well, the year before that was the Phil Hughes sort of incident, and like being on the field when he got hit, and it was just such a tragic event. And from that time on, it really was like my performances in particular, especially against fast bowling, really, really started to spiral and start to struggle big time. And it got to a stage where I know I was not performing anywhere near how I knew I could. That fear factor that had come in for the first time in my career was really taking its toll. And I was fortunate enough to end up working with a mental skills guru from the US, who was able to help just shift things and turn things around to a point where, for the first time, I really understood the mental skills aspect of humans, let alone like the performances in cricket. And that game against India, that was me putting all of that information that I'd developed and I'd really worked hard on to turn it into my skill. And that was really the true sort of test and performance to show that these mental skills, just if I implement them right, I can access all the skills that I've got inside me that I've worked so hard for up until that point. So that for me was the reason why that was even, yes, the performance was one of the best days I've ever had, and it was against India, and that was just in the lead up to the IPL auction as well, which was fortunate timing. But that for me was a real sort of moment in my life that I look back on, knowing that I'd worked so hard on my mental skills aspect of the game to be able to have a game like that. That was a game that I captained. I bowled the overs that I did, and I was able to bat all the way through and score the 100. So that was the test to show that in myself alone.
Well, not only that innings, we were also at the receiving end in Colombo when you and Warner just went berserk again, chasing 160 or 70 in the T20 World Cup. That innings also was special. I mean, there are many special innings, Watto, you played. If I talk about it, probably we might go on and go on. But now, since we are talking about T20, let me tell to all of fans that Shane Watson is the only player, I believe, to claim the #1 spot, both for batting as an all-rounder. That's a great achievement, Watto.
Yeah, but that's what I prided myself on, being the best cricketer that I possibly could be. I pushed the limits on how good I could be. I wanted to be the best fast bowler that I possibly could be. I wanted to be the best batsman that I possibly could be as well, and same from a fielding perspective. So I pushed the limits, and I know I was so fortunate to be able to have so many incredible mentors and coaches around me since I was a kid, to be able to help me develop and grow as a cricketer and grow my skills.
The CSK has made it to yet another finals. How happy are you and excited? And I'm sure as a player, you would want CSK to cross this hurdle. How do you feel sitting in Australia and not being a part of the camp?
It's definitely it's a bit sad feeling that I'm missing out on a lot. That's for sure, because I know how special this tournament and has been and would be for CSK, because especially with the year before, the way we performed wasn't ideal. It was like I suppose the dad's army in a way was starting to catch up a little bit on that third year. But so then for the CSK to be able to turn it around in this fourth year of this auction sort of cycle, the injection of a couple of players in particular just allowed the team to explode. Like Ruturaj Gaikwad was just, wow, what a incredible find he's been. Yes, he played really well in the last few games of the IPL last season, but for him just to be able to do what he did is incredible. Young guy, you can build a franchise around a young star like him. To see Jadeja continue to blossom as a cricketer and as an all-rounder is exactly what CSK needed, to be able to take the heat off MS Dhoni in particular, and even Suresh Raina. Those two guys dominated for CSK for so long. So then for a couple of other guys to be able to really step up and take the heat off and the pressure off those two guys who'd done it for so long was so important. And then Moeen Ali has been another great inclusion, to be able to really bring a bit of power and a bit of aggression in those middle overs in particular, and then his off spin. So for CSK to be able to turn it around like they have, and then the beauty of seeing MS to be able to finish off that game against Delhi in the first qualifier was just it. I'm sure everyone who watched that got emotional, because you could see how much he wanted to perform well, and it just hadn't been working that well for him. The game before that he played against Punjab Kings, you could see his intent change. His mindset was different, which was, so I know he got 11 off 15 balls, but it was very obviously there was a shift in him. So there's a good chance that it was going to come together, and I'm just so stoked for him. He deserves to just make another final. Who knows what's going to happen in a final? Anything can happen. But for MS Dhoni to lead CSK into another final and hope that they get over the line. But it's a great franchise, and I'm stoked for everyone, because they deserve the success, because they have worked incredibly hard to be able to build that franchise and hold it together like they have. And now they've made another final. It's very cool.
Big game, India-Pakistan, which is on the 24th. Like the Ashes, this is as big as it can be.
No, it's bigger. It's bigger. I know, how good. The only time India and Pakistan play against each other is ICC events. So, wow, how big is it going to be? I can't wait.
Shane Watson, thank you so much for being on the show.
You're very kind, Anis. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the World Cup coming up. It's going to be another exciting.
All right. We look forward to catch you. Thank you very much.